Are you looking to move out of the budget HT market and go with a premium HT? Stick around as we'll take a look at the new Wouxun Q10H. Prepare to be surprised. Hi, and welcome to the Gadget Talk channel, where we do reviews and how-tos on a variety of electronic gadgets that catch my eye. In this video, we're going to take a comprehensive look at a new premium level HT from Wouxun that's available at buytwowayradios.com. At about $220, it's definitely in the premium price category. As you are about to see, it's filled with a broad range of features and functions that you just don't find in budget class HTs. As we get started, if you find this video helpful, please mash the thumbs up button below the video and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. I really appreciate it. Buytwowayradios.com released the Q10H radio in the middle of 2023, so it's a fairly new offering. I purchased one in the fall of 2023. Let's start by going through what I think are a couple of the key features and functions of this new HT. We'd be here all day if I talked about them all, so these are just a couple of my top choices. The sales page at buytwowayradios.com lists dozens more. At the top of my list is that the Q10 is a quad-band radio. That's 4 transmit bands. Now, this is an analog FM HT, so it's not all modes, but still. I can transmit on 6 meters, 2 meters, 1.25 meters, and 70 centimeters. That's pretty cool, and also pretty unique. I also have a boatload of receive-only bands covering all the major band groupings from 50 megahertz up to 999 megahertz. This includes the broadcast FM band and the AM air band. Add to that NOAA weather channels, weather alerts, and its 999 memory channels. This little HT would be a prepper's dream machine. Next on the feature list is crossband repeat. The Q10 can be configured to be a crossband repeater. This gives you the option to set up a camp at a higher elevation or put an external antenna on a mast and provide extended range to those in your group over just simplex one-to-one communications. For a low number of users and calls, this has some interesting use cases. The last thing I'll mention before jumping into the tour of the Q10 are a couple of cool appearance factors. First, the radio comes in several colors. I got the blue one, but there are black, green, and red versions too. There are also 10 preloaded color schemes for the display, along with custom controls to set up your own favorite color combinations. Again, use the affiliate link below to go to the sales page and see the full list of functions and features. Let's take a look at what you'll get and do a tour of the Q10H. So let's take a look at what you're going to get in this box that the Q10 comes in. First is the owner's manual, and the owner's manual is really pretty good. When you move into the premium class of radios, one of the things you often notice is there's a real increase in the quality of the user guides or user manual, as this one is labeled. All of the major functions are described, all the menus. Here's a display of what the various icons on the screen are. And because it's got some pretty advanced features, including the GPS and the crossband repeat, there's a lot of information here. It's about 120 pages of information to help you get started using the radio to the best of your ability right off the bat. So let's take a look now at a couple of the accessories. So here's how you charge the radio, or at least one of the ways you charge it. It's got a nice little charge cradle, Wouxun branded, and then it's got this little wall wart with a barrel connector on it right here. It's an output of 12 volts, so be mindful of that if you've got a drawer full of these. Then, of course, you can also charge it using USB-C. However, it does not include a USB-C cable. A couple of other things that are common to small HT radios. One of them is a lanyard or a wrist strap that loops through one of the little openings on the radio that we'll see here in a minute. Here is a belt clip, and then it comes with the screws for the belt clip, so you want to make sure you don't lose those. And then there are also a couple of thumb screws that you can use on the side panel should you choose. And that has to do with the high IP or intrusion protection score. If you're going in and out of that to get to your K1 connector, having the thumb screws might be something that is more of an interest to you. Otherwise, you'll be using a little common screwdriver to open that side panel. And then the last thing we'll look at is it comes with two antennas. This longer one is for the lower two bands, so 220 and 6 meters. It's labeled here on the little insert of this antenna, and then it's got the female end or the socket side on the antenna. This is a little bit shorter, and this is the antenna for 2 meters and 70 centimeters. So a couple of antennas to cover the wide transmit band that the radio covers. So let's take a power off tour of the radio. We've got the screen here. The speaker is right here. There's a microphone hole right there. We've got the typical numbers here on the screen with little blue shortcuts to the various menu items. The area button moves the up and down here. Transmitter dual receive and mode button is right there. The RPT button has a couple of functions to include going into repeater mode, talk around, and so forth. The green button is menu entry. You up and down with the line up or down on those two buttons, and then you exit the menu with the red button right here. On this side of the radio, we have a couple of the programming keys and the two push-to-talk buttons. They are here and here, outlined in orange, and then we've got PF1 and PF2 on this side. And these two buttons are programmable in the software, and the two push-to-talk buttons have some programmability to them as well in terms of which area of the screen the particular push-to-talk button activates. On the back of the radio, here are the screw holes for the belt clip that I just showed you. I've got the battery mounted on it, and it forms a nice tight seal. It snaps in, it doesn't screw in, so that makes it handy if you have more than one battery and you use it a lot. On this side, we have access to the USB port behind this little rubber door. And then we have the K1 connector used for programming cable or a push-to-talk speaker mic that you might have. They'll all fit here. These do screw out, and I've got the common screws in them to hold it tight to provide that intrusion protection. Again, the thumb screws can be used instead if that better fits your purpose. On the top of the radio, we have the antenna connection. That antenna connection is the male side, the plug side. Here's the orange button on the top. That is also programmable. The flashlight LED is right here. I'm guessing this little circle right there is the GPS antenna. And then unlike many radios, this is a nested rotary switch. And so on, off, and volume is the top. And then you can change channels. You can change a number of things within the menus using this second rotating knob right here. So that nested knob is kind of handy, and it gives you some additional control over the radio. So that's the power off tour. Now let's turn the radio on and take a look at some of the displays and function keys. So we've got the radio on right now. You can see up here at the top, the GPS is flashing. It's searching for a signal. I have done some programming on this already, so this is not how it comes out of the box. How it comes out of the box is with a bunch of simplex channels pre-programmed in each band. It's kind of a pain, but that it is what it is. When you're using the CPS, it's easy to delete them and put the programs in that you wanted. Notice now that the pin there is steady, meaning it has gotten a GPS lock. I have put my call sign there at the top. The knob on the top of this multifunction knob here allows me to change the volume, turn the radio on, and then this knob closer to the body of the radio allows me to spin through the channels and do other things, as I mentioned before. Now, the area button is going to change which of these is primary, and you can see it's a little bit bigger where it says 6-meter calling. So if I press area, that turns small, and the lower one turns big, and so that's going to be where I'm going to be broadcasting. Move it back up. Transmitter dual receive, if I do a short press there, it turns off that lower area, and so I just have my radio model, which is changeable in the CPS, by the way, and then my primary area there. And so I'm going to press that again, and then I can press it long, and I can change the mode. So watch this main one. I'll do a long press. And so now I've changed into frequency mode. It's the last frequency that I had selected in the band that I had selected. So I can long press again, and I can go back to channel mode, press again. I can go to 50 megahertz, and then I go to my other channel mode, which is where I have my name. Those are called work modes, and so you can rotate through those here using a long press on this button. As I mentioned, this will put you into repeater mode, and there's some icons that make changes as we go through that. Now let's take a look at the menu real quick. Now the menu works the same as all these other small handhelds. You enter it by going into the menu, press menu again to move into your choices, use up and down to make the choice, press menu to select the choice, and then this little red button to exit the menu mode. However, what is different is that the Wouxun menu is structured differently. So if we push a long press on the menu key, we see that it comes in with radio-specific menu items that apply to the radio itself and to all of the channels. And so as we work here, we can use our knob to change, or we can use the up and down to change. So you can change the brightness mode when it's active, how bright it is, what's in standby, the backlight, battery saver, weather alert. It not only gives you the weather channels, but it'll also broadcast one of several different kinds of alerts. If you're out in stormy weather and you want an alert when the weather service broadcasts, and it will trigger this radio, and it'll either flash at you or buzz at you or switch to the weather mode. It does a couple of things. The themes are the various color themes that you can put on the screen, how you want the scan mode to work, and these are all pretty much the same as you're used to seeing in other small radios. We'll press and get out of that. Now we'll do a short press on the menu. In this case now, we're using the menu items that are basically assigned to various channels. So here we've got the squelch, the AM mode. Now, if I want to use airband, I need to turn the AM mode on, so I can press menu, turn to AM receive, press menu to select, and then now I can keep working my way through the various menu items in the channel mode. So I've got power for each of the channels, wide, narrow, step, CTCSS, DCSs, frequency shift and frequency offset, all of the things you're used to doing. Plus, one of the handy things is that you can give it a name. And so if you go into channel name, then you can use this upper button to make changes to the numbers or the letters that you have there showing. A lot of times radios will allow you to have names, but you have to do it within the CPS. So that's one of the advantages of having this second knob on the radio. So those are the standard menu items. They're going to be familiar to you. There are a couple of specialized menu items for the repeater and for the GPS system, but you'll have to read about those in the manual. Those are kind of specialized and can get kind of complex to get it all working together. That's our power on tour of the Wouxun KG Q10H. The Q10 has 4 power levels. Let's take a quick look at what you can expect in that department. I often show the readings from my MFJ 874 SWR and watt meter, but with 4 bands and 4 power levels. Here's a chart instead. As you can see, on 6 meters, the power ranges from 1 to 5 watts. On 2 meters, it ranges from 1.9 to 4.8 watts. On 1.25 meters, readings are a little lower, ranging from 0.7 to 2.1 watts. And last, on 70 centimeters, the power output goes from 1.1 on low to 6.5 on ultra high. Here's a quick sample of the audio both to and from the Q10H.
Test 1 2 3, receive test 1 2 3, 1 2 3 4 5, test out. Transmit test 1 2 3 4 5, 5 4 3 2 1, transmit test out. AA7 Juliet.
It's probably best to do a separate video on the Q10 CPS. As with all fairly complex radios, I find using the CPS is just a lot easier than scrolling through the menus and making selections on the radio. As you saw in the Power on Radio tour, the menu system isn't hard to master. It's just tedious if you're planning on entering a bunch of channels and settings. In any case, here's a quick snapshot to whet your interest. Note the Wouxun CPS is more capable than most budget HT CPS with import and export capability, though it doesn't link to outside sources such as repeaterbook.com. So here are a couple of slides of the KG Q10H CPS, and you can see it's pretty typical for most of these. You've got the basic Windows drop-down boxes here for the various menu items to include setting the proper port for the cable that you're using, a help about, and so forth. These icons represent most of the items that are in these various menus right here. And then there are several tabs across the top, and we'll go through each of those here just very briefly. So here we're in the channel information. And the channel information as the radio comes out of the box is what you see here. It's got the calling channels for each of the 4 bands that it comes programmed to transmit on. Plus, for each of the bands, it's got a bunch of what they call simplex. So simplex 1, simplex 2, and so forth. Now, for most of us, that's not something that we care about, that we're not going to use. But one of the features of this is that you can click here and then shift click here. It'll fill in like an Excel spreadsheet or any other Windows software, and you click delete and it all goes away. So it's easy to blank this out to start adding your own channels. Next tab is the configurations settings tab, and these are a bunch of the various settings that are in the radio's menu. And so these are all here. These are drop-down boxes. Click on it and the choices become available to you, and then select them. You can also manage some color themes here using the colors here in the box. VFO settings are the same ones you're used to seeing if you have any other small HTs, and they just give you the opening frequency and the range and various settings that these various bands will have. Next, we have the broadcast FM memories, and you've got 20 of them here that you can set. Here in key settings, this is really handy, and this is where you can set what the various keys do. So for example, PTT1 is going to, when it's pressed, transmit in area A, and PT2 will transmit in the secondary. So this is your primary and secondary. There are several drop-down boxes here allow you to customize the PTTs. So here we've got the various programmable keys, and this is how it comes out of the box. So the top key will turn on the FM radio, long press will turn on the flashlight. There's a bunch of choices here for each of these drop-downs, so you can configure these the way that makes sense for you. Short press on PF1 is undefined. Long press is display the GPS map. Short press on 2 is weather. Long press on 2 is the monitor. There are, as I say, a number of choices that you can make here for these keys to make them as useful to you as possible. Now here's where you set your remote control. So the radio code as it comes out of the box is 101. The control code is all zeros. Top message is the message that's going to display at the top of the display. On mine, when we went through the Power On tour, I had changed this to my call sign. The area message is when you get out of the TDR and just go into a single mode, that transmitter dual receive, and it will show the model number. Again, it's changeable to your name or your call sign, whatever you'd like to do. Next up, we've got the VFO scan mode, and here we've got 10 scan groups They are defined in the software here, but you can program according to this, and this will allow you to scan a group. So if you want to have a group of channels in channels 101 to 200 that represent, where your favorite campsite or a family member that you go visit out of state, it's easy to do that. And then you can give it a name here. And last is our call settings, and this really has to do with using groups in the radio and using DTMF codes to call particular people. So that's the quick and dirty for the Q10H CPS. The last feature I'll mention is the radio's GPS function. The radio will display your coordinates on the screen and will transmit your coordinates to others using a KG-Q10. There are a couple of settings in the menus you'll need to configure first, however. These include turning the GPS on, giving your radio an ID number, and telling the radio when to broadcast the GPS data. This will allow you to display the position of others in your group relative to you. Several other brands of HT have this function, but unfortunately, they don't work with each other. The Q10 only communicates GPS data with other Q10s. I tried with another brand and it wouldn't work. Let's wrap this up with a couple of comments. While I didn't show it, I did test the signal purity on a little tiny SA. The signal met the FCC requirements for amateur radios transmitting under 25 watts. I really liked how the PF1 and PF2 keys have numerous function choices to best fit each user's needs. The programmable top key was a bonus, giving you 6 functions accessible by either a short or long press on the buttons. The 2 push-to-talk keys is also kind of cool. However, you'll want to give some thought as to how you want to configure those to avoid transmitting on the wrong channel. Unfortunately, with so many radio functions, complexity is the byproduct of more options. Again, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Join me over here where we'll do a deeper dive into the KG-Q10's CPS and programming options. Thanks for watching, and 73.